Welcome back into the SMITE Console League. My name is Finch, and I'm happy to have you here, but I want to give you one more reminder to make sure that you all are picking up this Battle Pass. You know, you got to move along the premium track and the normal track. There's a lot to do, so get on top of it as soon as possible. That way you can get all the way to the end. There's new skins for Neith, Serket, Chang'e, Artemis, all of them in that Battle Pass. You're going to make sure that you grab it. But back into console. We are now in Xbox EU. We just finished with PS4 EU, and help me break that down. I got Ryan Aggro Bailey right here next to me. Specifically, this is Dobbos Disciples versus Hyve, and I do expect Dobbos will win.
Yes, I think that might be too light of a word for what we might see. I mean, I don't know, man. Dobbos Disciples has been the second best team in this region. Of course, Team Rival is the one that's going to be coming to LAN.
Right.
But Dobbos still, I think, want to come out and show that, you know, I just look at Vaporish Coast and I'm like, there is no way this guy isn't going to try and style on people in these games that are irrelevant for standings. Like, he's going to try and do something gross.
I think so, too. He's going to pick something where he can just kill people, and then he will probably do a lot of that. I mean, obviously, Hyve Central are going to be coming in and giving us their best performance here as well, but I do think they are a bit outmatched. Dobbos, I believe, have only dropped 2 Rival up until now. They're 6-3, and that's where those 3 losses would have come from, so I expect them to be able to win here. But this is a chance for Hyve, I think, to show us some of what they're capable of as well as we move into picks and bans for game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Dobbos Disciples have a lot of good, talented players. I mean, these are players for sure that you're kind of looking at this as tryouts, like kind of getting your reel ready for teams in the future for next year and things like that, so that you can be prepared and say, hey, remember when I dominated in this SCL week? I mean, these are the best level of competitions that you can get on the Xbox side of things, so you got to be able to make the most out of them, even in these games that might not be as relevant for the standings.
Well, Set and Isis are both through the picks and bans, which should mean that they're both here. I don't think we saw Set picked when he was passed on earlier on today, so maybe he won't be valued, but if you give Dobbos Isis, they're going to use that quite well. This doesn't feel to me like a Coast God, but you could certainly take it over to the long lane and let it farm over there in his hands. There's no reason you couldn't.
Yeah, I kind of expect this to be for Dobson in the mid lane.
Agreed.
I agree that that's probably a little bit more in his wheelhouse than Coast's. Now, Set feels like a perfect Coast God, right? I mean, he's been playing so much Susano in that long lane, Assassin 1v1. Give him Set. I think he's the best in the game at that matchup, and let him go to work. Instead, he goes to the Jingwei. I guess he decided he didn't want to have as much fun. I mean, I don't know.
Well, this will let him build crit, and he does like doing a lot of damage
Sure.
to people, which is something that'll fit in, but I think I agree with you in that Set feels pretty strong right now. They're also getting to Khepri, and we've seen a lot of Geb and Khepri bans at the higher levels. Khepri manages to squeak through, so they get a really strong Guardian and possibly just the individual strongest God in the game right now here in Isis. She's certainly in that conversation.
Seems pretty good to me for Dobbos Disciples, for sure. The Nox pick on the other side is interesting. I think this is a pick that hasn't been explored as a potential counter pick option against that Isis. Everything Isis is doing needs multiple times, basically. I mean,
sure.
Wing Gust is a channel ability. Spirit Ball you need to refire. Can't do that while you're silenced. Circle of Protection, need to be able to refire. Dispel Magic's going to cause you problems either way, but I think the idea of the Nox is pretty solid, and it might be working.
I'm worried about this Sylvanas, though. He is a bit of a sitting duck into this draft here from Dobbos Disciples, especially when you add in this Nemesis on top of that, too. They're not going to have really any trouble slowing down this tree, shredding through him quite quickly. They're going to need a lot of help, I feel like, from this Nox and the Susano both to be disrupting presences.
Yeah, Nemesis may as well just have a full Lumberjack skin,
Yeah.
because she is that good at killing Sylvanas pretty consistently. That's actually a pretty good idea, I think.
Yeah, a Lumberjack Nemesis skin. I'm right there with you.
You
Let's
can't
talk
like
about
backhand a chainsaw, though. That's dangerous stuff.
Well, you could. What are some of the things that
guess.
a Sylvanas can do really well to get away from a Nemesis? Can he jump over walls?
No, he cannot.
Okay, so he can't jump over walls. But he can at least, like, he has, like, a dash then, right? So he can, like, put some space between him and the Nemesis really easily with that?
Incorrect.
Okay, he does not have one of those. He has a movement speed stim, at least, then I assume.
He does not.
Oh, well, then Colossal's going to kill him all game.
Yeah, I mean, Miku does go with the sprint at level 1 as Tyler N playing the Vamana mid lane here for Hyve Central. Has already used the blink on the
So
Dobson.
it's not Tylern? I'm supposed to
know.
say them separately?
I kind of like Tyler N, but it might not be.
Well, you know, I want you to be able to find some joy in this world. I won't take that from you, but I'm probably going to say Tylern.
All right, well, I'll just Tyler and whatever you're saying. And
No, keep saying your thing and enjoy that.
I don't think that's good. We should just decide on
Okay,
one.
yeah,
to
I'll say Tyler in then. I'll do my best.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want you to have some happiness.
I really thought about Hindu manning you there and just going, great, I'll say Tyler. You know, because that, or Tyler N, because that's like what he would do. He would get you to move positions and then immediately switch back to where you were.
Right. That would be funny to him. It would require him to be here, though, which, you know, that'd be surprising in its own right. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Certainly at this point here is Dobbos up against Hyve Central. It's a big matchup between these two teams, and it's a big matchup because Dobbos and Hyve can't make it at this point. So there's no reason why they can't sort of just, you know, have a little fun with this match.
And that makes it big.
I think so. Bigly
Yo,
is this matchup. Gnome is
he's
just
fine.
baiting USB in, of course.
So big brain there. Yeah, so I thought the Nox against the Isis made a lot of sense. Nox against King Arthur, I think this is the matchup where Ducky pulled out the Nox solo in the SPL early on in Phase 1 to try and abuse the silence against King Arthur, but this does not seem as
Wait, no way.
ready.
No chance.
Yeah. Can you believe that a team comp that has a ranged root, a ranged stun, and slows took down a Sylvanas early?
No way they got him. For first blood even? I mean, hard to believe, but that's what happened here. And that's going to keep happening for Miku really all game, man. It's just not going to be easy. I actually think I do like the sprint pickup into all these slows. It's not a bad plan to try and give him some survivability, but it just still wasn't enough there.
I think you either get beads or sprint. I honestly wouldn't mind a beads, but sprint gives your team a little bit more help, so I think it's a totally fine call. I really feel like Miku, if Miku gets out of this, you know, first 15 minutes with less than 5 deaths, I'm pretty happy about it.
That's the over-under, it's 5?
Yeah, I think so.
I think under. I think he could definitely make it out with 4. 15 minutes is what you said?
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'll take the under then. Yeah.
Okay.
Miku, galactic though he may be, is in some trouble here in this early game. Has to fall back a little bit. They will have some sustain, a great team fighting ultimate to rely on later, but this is a bit of a problem now here for Genesis, as he's been caught out by USB and Colossal, and another kill for Dobbos.
Pressure on that side of the map attempted by Hyve Central, but unsuccessful. This is, I mean, the Vamana mid is really there to just stomp on Dobson throughout the early game, but the early game is where Isis cares a little bit less about that. The reason Vamana works as a kill the backline because you can't peel me character, it's because he's in the solo lane and is able to get really tanky really fast with these cheap power spike items that are defensive in nature and use the fact that you're getting power from physical defense to kind of boost your numbers artificially. Tyler is not doing either of those things, really. He's in the mid lane, he's going to get a lot less farm than he would in solo. He's going damage in the form of Transcendence. Vamana's not super sick in the scaling department. I don't like it.
This could be risky for Tyler in here in the middle lane on this Vamana, but we'll see if he can, you know, try and find some avenues to get back there towards Dobson and slow him down, but he isn't going to be in high risk being blown up. And I don't know, I mean, this strat doesn't use anti-heal that well. Maybe Colossal will get Toxic Blade in this build. I actually think it could fit not too bad, as Miku is in some trouble. He gets pulled in, has now popped the sprint, and that should give him a chance to reposition. Colossal has the slice and dice, though, and that is the second death now for Miku.
That's 2. 11 minutes to go if I'm going to beat Finch, because all of a sudden I'm taking the over because I can't help myself.
So you need 6 now, right? Is what you need?
No, I need, because... Well, I guess 5 was the over-under.
Right.
So
what I said, yeah. Glad you got there. Live on the air.
I guess I need
Where'd
6.
you figure that out?
I really think 5's a reasonable number, but 6 seems like an awful lot in 15
But that's why you
minutes.
picked 5, though, right? Because 4 and 6 are both pretty unlikely.
I thought 5 was the most likely.
Genesis in some trouble here yet again. Gets away from the circle of protection.
Sylvanas.
Just barely.
Nice
Miku
pull.
finds a pull, brings Dobson back, and he takes a tower shot as a result. Those are the beads out from Dobson, so he's a bit more vulnerable now if Tyler and Genesis can get back out.
Yeah, that was a great pull from Miku, and that's where, even though you're so susceptible to all the CC and damage that Dobbos disciples have, that's why picking the Sylvanas can sometimes be worth it anyways, is that you're able to provide so much in terms of displacement and CC initiation with that ultimate.
It's one of those things that not anyone else can do. Old Arachne used to be able to do that, but that was about all she did. Is Colosso now looking for Miku yet again. Body blocks are there. Spear ball up the mark, but they don't even need it as USB gets 3 kills and takes down the Sylvanas. One more, and then stop.
No, I don't think that's the case. I mean, Reinforced Greaves are going to help a lot because that Rising Dawn from Switch will stack that up pretty quickly. But feel like I'm in a good spot.
Typhoon was not quite enough to strip that red buff away, so Dobbos Disciples steal it and now enjoy 2,000 gold out in front. They'll strip the purple buff away from Hyve Central as well, and they've got a control on just about every aspect of the game here so far, about a level lead in almost every matchup as well, aside from the mid and the long lane. They're in a real good spot.
This is what we expect from Dobbos Disciples. I mean, they're controlling everywhere. Gnome is 2 levels down early on, hasn't gotten a blue buff quite yet, so this is not looking good for Hyve Central for sure.
Porish able to grab his own purple buff. That's a big deal. That's why I'm speaking about it. Now I'll move on to something that actually matters instead of talking about that. And Tyler slowed down on the Transcendence to get up these Talaria boots. Is that the right call here? I mean, I think he's right that it's going to be a while before he's ready for Transcendence.
I mean, it gives him MP5. You want as much movement speed as possible so you can actually catch people in that big baby form. It kind of means that you don't have to go something like Hasten Katana a little bit later on. I think it's fine, but maybe you need a little bit more power if you're going for the Transcendence.
That is the Abduct interrupted there from Switch. And that's so interesting. It's two schools of thought. Sometimes I'm like, well, I bought Transcendence so I can afford to buy less power later. But also, if you are going to be committing to a full damage item, you need more power, as Coast unsurprisingly comes out on top in the basic attack trade. So it's two schools of thought there, as Coast has now been baited successfully.
Wrong way.
There's the airstrike aggressively because Coast knows no other way to live. It is indeed going to cost him his life, or maybe not. He gets the Scarab's Blessing, saved there by Switch. You could be forgiven if you thought that was Dinosaur from the old days, but that's Switch making it work, bailing out Coast.
Beautiful play from Switch, and I don't know about that decision from Genesis to throw the Typhoon his way. Dobson does not detonate the Circle of Protection in time, and as a result, makes me less likely to win my very important bet against my co-caster, John Finch.
And that is a big deal, at least for me here, as Colossal takes down Gnome on the right-hand side. Miku gonna push in, uses the Wrath of Terra, and that sets up not just for a kill, but a kill for the Savant. It's himself 1-3-0. And he lives. 7 more minutes, fellas.
So unlucky, man. I mean, why just out of mana? I mean, this Bancroft's Rush gives you a lot of power, but no MP5 in the build whatsoever. You're relying on the MP5 from the Funeral Rites passive. It's actually pretty strong, but not strong enough early on. Need to be in witnessing range of a couple deaths before that starts to stack up for you.
Circle of Protection being there helps out too, and Coast, if he's able to ult in the right direction, they might not even be in that bad of a situation in the first place. So, you know, certainly a lot of other dominoes before we got to the one that fell there, but yes, you're right that, you know, some mana's good. As Switch now in some trouble. That's a nice stun from Dobson, allows for the turnaround, but Dobson does not have the Circle of Protection here, and Switch is on the wrong side of the map. But Hyve Central unwilling to commit, and Switch makes it out.
Spirit Ball just a bit short from Dobson. No ultimate for Colossal, so gotta wait a little bit on that. There's a great opportunity for a Gold Fury pull as soon as Dobson's ultimate comes back up. As you know, relics are down on the other side.
What do you think this is for Miku? Do you think this is a relic dagger he's working on in this slot to try and have more
Winged Blade.
Winged Blade? Oh, Winged Blade makes sense. As slows are a problem, in comes the big ultimate, and Miku dies one more time. That's his 4th on the board. Gnome gets pushed back towards everyone else after a good knock-up from Coast, and now he's isolated. Airstrike gets good damage. That's a double kill for Coast, and now Gnome in a spot of bother. Make that a triple kill. All Coast does is get multi-kills. They're going to head right towards gold.
I swear to you that there is a skill of getting last hits like that last one right there on Gnome. The entire team is hitting him, but somehow it's always Coast who gets those kills, man. It just ends up going his way. That is a skill that not everyone possesses, but Coast certainly does. A great team fight for him in many ways. Not like he just ended up getting a couple last hits in order to get that triple kill. He did quite a bit of work.
I think his knock-up on Gnome is what killed Gnome. It pulled him so far back into that jungle. So, I mean, yeah, Coast had a great team fight there, obviously. And Gnome, I kind of keep forgetting he's the solo Nox rotating into these fights with a Warrior's Blessing.
That's right.
As that first relic. And I don't know if that's the idea, is he's meant to be another tanky presence for this team or not. But, he's working on, I imagine, a Pythax piece, and we'll see if that ever comes to fruition, because now it looks like he's just walking into towers.
Yes.
Maybe a DC.
I am skeptical of that.
I choose to believe a DC. until I see
think that's
something
I think
else.
that's nice of you.
Hyve's is bot, so it can't be, as he's certainly there, buying things and doing stuff. It's certainly hurting my argument, but I refuse to yield.
Double
As
down.
is often my preferred method. Miku, you gotta live here, buddy. This is really critical. He's low. Wrath of Terror buys him time.
Oh, the pull!
Dobson gets interrupted.
missed!
And Switch comes in
Bro,
as well.
come
Miku
on!
lives. Let's go.
That should have been 5, man. We only got 4 minutes left.
Makes his way out of there easy for Miku here at this point. Genesis, though, does end up falling. Colossal cuts him down to size.
And Gnome decides to int again. Look, dude, I get that this game doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Have some respect, man. It's, you know, we're gonna have some fun up here, you know, but that's lame. I don't like it.
Certainly gotta, you know, play. I assume he wants to play, right? No one's making him play, but
I mean,
does
you could fool me.
it would seem that way from what we're seeing here. So far, this has favored Dobbos pretty handily. Perhaps Gnome has made the assessment that even his best would not change the outcome. Hey, you know, maybe I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why they play. Do you think the Miami Dolphins suit up on Sundays feeling confident they're going to win?
No, I know for a fact they don't, because we've heard that from the players themselves.
So do you think that they just decide to go in there and stand still and watch people run by them?
You know, I don't think that they do.
Is that because they're professionals who care about the thing they're doing?
Yes, that is the reason.
Ah, okay. There's the main difference then.
Would certainly seem as though one has it and the other doesn't, if I had to make that assessment on my own. 11-1 favoring Dobbos.
Man, it's not going to be 6 kills on me. We cannot be dropping that one, boys. Like, we had it in the bag.
This is so free for
Hey, look, and Mika made a sick play. That Nature's Grasp onto Dobson mid-wing gust to stun him out of it and stop that damage from coming through. That was a nice play by him, man. I gotta give it up.
And he looked like he was considering going for the helm path, but instead starting up this cloak tree, and I think that might help him out a little bit more. He's going to need some all protections. At this point, doesn't really have much of any, so I don't think he can go dedicated in one route. As this is now trouble for Hotaru. He falls here on the right-hand side on this Rom we haven't talked much about either. We really do not see Rom much lately,
No.
but Hotaru going to him here.
I mean, it's a late game hyper carry that can be good for you, but I don't know. It's
Oh, it's a lane swap.
got to get out of the early game. Oh,
This could
We
be
need
it
this
here
one.
for Miku.
we need it.
In some trouble. In comes the Typhoon, but Coast moves
Okay,
in.
thank goodness.
And if there's a low HP target, you know Coast can find his way to him. Level 16 on the Jingwei and takes down the Sylvanas.
Coast as a person has Thanatos passive like built into him,
Exactly.
where he just moves faster towards those targets at all times. All right, guys, so he respawns in 8 seconds.
It's called being clutch, by the way.
That means that we only have about a 50-second window to be more right than Finch. We're already not as wrong as Finch is.
Huh?
Because you took the under, and so you're wrong. And so, but in the wrong way. You know?
What?
So if he sits
Huh?
at 5.
Speak more on that. I'd love to hear it.
Well, okay, wait. This is good from... No, Switch, you got to get some help there. Can I get some help for Switch in the mid lane real quick?
I don't think you're allowed to actively root for this to happen.
Why not?
Switch
I want to be right.
is lurking nearby, but
Guys,
doesn't have.
Pyromancer's one thing. Let's instead get some kills, huh?
I like that they're objective focused here for Dobbos. Let's keep that going as Gnome gets soloed and left. The lane swap not helping him out. Genesis dies in the jungle. And now 8
Blink,
seconds
baby?
away from us both being equally wrong.
Okay, but I was closer in the sense that we were playing...
You're wrong, though.
No, it's anti-Price is Right rules, you know? It's like you either play by Price is Right rules or anti-Price is Right rules, and I did go over, which is better, in the anti-Price is Right rules by which we are playing.
Okay. I don't even know how to engage with that right now.
You can't. That's the energy I'm bringing.
Rick Perry made him do it, I suppose. At this point is where I'm at. And it's a line that it's a line of reasoning that's so wild, so ludicrous that I can't even fathom it. Is Primal Fury now being considered by Dobbos' disciples? In fact, they shall grab this without any contest. Hyve Central won't be there.
Not that they could do anything if they were there. So Hotaru did not blink away. That was other blinks elsewhere. Miku dies for the 6th time. Okay, I was definitely pretty close, man. It was within a minute.
Yeah, that's close, man. That's close. But it's the same amount the other direction as Genesis gets pulled back in. Coast there waiting
Anti-Price is Right
for the
rules, dude.
knock-up, and Colossal unstoppable. 7-0 and 8, 2-0 and 5 for USB, 3-0 and 9 for Dobson, 6-0 and 1 for Coast. Monster performance is being put in here by Dobbos Disciples all around as Gnome accomplishes the same thing he's accomplished all game long, 0-5 and 0. I mean, nothing constructive's come from there.
No, I can agree with that. Fire Giant gone as Dobbos Disciples begin the march towards the enemy base. This is where, I mean, Dobbos Disciples can just put the head down, go to work, get these towers, get these phoenixes, end the game as fast as possible, and show us that they are, they're doing it the way it should be done.
I mean, they just walked into, I think, one other really tough opponent here in this region they couldn't figure out in Rival. But other than that, this is obviously a very strong unit here for Dobbos. They're pushing now past the Phoenix. Gnome pulled back in for his 6th death here this game, and Coast finds his 7th kill. I don't think they can end from this spot.
No, they can't. There's too many towers up. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
tier 2 in mid and left. That's a really tanky Titan. They just don't they just don't have the damage numbers for it because it's too early in the game.
At this point, they've been able to make it here sooner than what is normally considered possible at this point. They did grab the mid tier 2, and now they can threaten this mid Phoenix. Hyve Central gonna need to pull something miraculous out to start slowing down this push. Tyler in way over in the left lane, getting what farm that he can. Typhoon charged up to try and keep Hyve Central alive, but mid Phoenix will certainly fall.
Indeed it does. Coast has beads and Aegis and uses both. It looks like Dobbos still chasing kills, not necessarily going for the objective. Still seems a bit ambitious to go for Titan here.
Gnome gets stunned out. That prevents him from finding a nice route onto USV. Dobson, the furthest forward, getting a lot of damage. But he's set himself up now for trouble. Genesis blinks in and gets evaporated. Stunned in a circle of protection. We'll see you later.
Yeah, Isis seems like a good character to play if you wanted to win really badly. And so by that metric, I do not think it'd be good for Gnome.
No. Certainly wouldn't be able to get much value out of it doing what he's doing here in this game so far. Level 12 for this short lane Nox that went Warrior's Blessing rather, Pythax cooldown boots. It hasn't quite worked for him, though it hasn't really worked for anyone in Hyve Central up to this point.
So now, I mean, Dobbos Disciples probably have a ton of golden hand. They've been on the map for roughly an eternity. Yeah, 2,000 for just about everybody who hadn't backed yet. Nearly 4K for overpowered USB. Will be 4K once this tier 2 tower goes down, but I don't think that's happening before he hits that back because there's no creeps here, and you just aren't tanky enough because it's only 19 minutes in to do that.
He also doesn't even really have that many physical protections, does he? It's Glad Shield and then health from Genji's and Blackthorn. Void Shield will give him some, but it's much more that aura that I think that's going to be particularly potent as he gets back there towards Hotaru and Genesis and makes their lives miserable.
I think he's already done a lot of that so
Yes.
far at 2, 0, and 8. And
Is that a measurement we track? Because that's like how miserable he's made the other people in the game so far.
Probably not, but we should.
Oh, that's good vision. Dobson somehow got the recognition and almost blows them up over the wall. That would have been nuts.
I think if he 3'd, he could have killed them because of... No, it wouldn't have taken that many prots off. Yeah, just not enough damage. But that was nice. I like the attempt.
That was great recognition there as almost gets him. Now Dobbos gearing up for their next push, the last remaining Phoenix, the last bastion for Hyve Central to try and defend on. And the pull not there from Miku.
Looks like Tyler is no longer with us
Tyler N.
on this one. Not that he was ever with us in the first place. 0, 0, and 0.
Has had actually no impact on this game here so far.
That is impressive for what it's worth.
The rest of Dobbos grouping up in left. Hotaru being pushed out by USB, been caught. Does still have the beads, but it's not enough to get away from USB. Colossal takes down Miku, who does make it to 7 deaths. And Genesis can't even get back to the fountain. He falls as well. Tyler in does actually DC out of this one. A surrender vote now started for Hyve Central, and I think they're correct, and not much chance of them turning this one around at this point. Dobbos, 25-1, shut down Hyve.
Look, I mean, we came in saying they'd be the favorites, that this game doesn't really matter for the standings because Rival has already secured it. But I think that public perception and the way that you're viewed as a player does still matter, at least to some degree. And you know, if I'm looking for someone to have on a team, dudes who aren't going to play in these games do not appeal to me to be picked up. I think is the way I'd like to phrase it.
You're certainly right on that one. Still want to be out there trying to put your best foot forward, as Dobbos did exactly that. A dominant performance from them, really from all 5 members. No one lagged behind. Switch was critical in the early game, helping out with Colossal and USB, get off to a good start. Coast made the kind of rotations that Coast is known for here in this game with some big knockups as well, and Dobbos grabbed game 1. That felt, though, like the set, didn't it, in some ways? I mean, there's still going to be one more game at the very least after this, and we'll see if Hyve Central can try and make some adjustments to turn things around. Maybe they'll show up. We'll have a chance to see.
SteelSeries, the official peripheral provider of the SMITE Console League.
Welcome back to the SMITE Console League. We are still in Xbox EU, and it is still Dobbos versus Hyve Central. Dobbos dominantly took game number 1. We'll see if Hyve Central can figure out what adjustments need to be made to turn things around. I've got Ryan Agro-Bailey right here next to me to help me break it down as we move into the second game.
Look, it's going to be an uphill battle for Hyve Central for sure. Dobbos Disciples looking pretty clean there in game 1, to say the least.
I think so too, and what really should be good news for Dobbos Disciples is that everyone on the squad individually did look strong, I think, for them. Obviously, it can improve their chances of making it towards that placement week, but moving forward for that team, they know they got 5 strong players that can look good together. Into the picks and bans, though, we go. Those first 2 bans, Osiris and Oleron, not particularly surprising, maybe the Osiris a bit, but you definitely don't want to deal with Oleron nowadays. But at this pace, a lot of good stuff's going to make it through. Isis, Thor, Set, Persephone, Amaterasu. There's a lot of good picks still out there.
Isis again, still open. Dobbos Disciples going to take Amaterasu this time around. Hyve Central, I don't know what the problem is with the Sobek ban necessarily, but that does not seem particularly well advised right here. Would be my assessment.
It's going to set them up to get some really strong picks here in response, and of course, you make sure you lock down that Anubis while you still can alongside the Uller, so a little bit of fun perhaps there from Hyve Central, as you often don't need to top pick Anubis, even if you do have a strat that really works here for him. Thor comes through the other side for Dobbos Disciples, recognizing that good picks are indeed good.
Yeah, I mean, Dobbos Disciples staying at home and picking stuff that they should be picking. Amaterasu, Thor, Thoth, it's real sick top 3. Anubis, Uller, less sick for sure. It's not good, I don't think.
You know, I'm a bit surprised. I would have thought maybe you would try and snag a Khepri on the back end of this because, I mean, Ullr and Anubis are tons of damage, but obviously their drawback is that they're quite vulnerable. Maybe something like a Khepri can make that all-out aggression work a little bit better. But instead, it's the King Arthur. This is some backline die for them. I imagine this will be Gnome that fits a little bit more over there into the soul lane than that Nox did last time, and certainly can make some sense if you want to put Warrior's Blessing on it.
Yeah, I think Khepri would have been a good pick if your team was trying. I just don't think that they are, to be honest with you.
Especially off their passive.
And look, man, I mean, if we have to sit here and do this part, I don't see why we should have to say it any other way than the actual truth. I really don't.
No, I'm not going to ask you to do it any other way as Naja comes through now for Hype Unit. That is or Hyve, excuse me. That is a good deal of setup for them, the Sash and the Ultimate. It means that Anubis and Ullr shouldn't have too hard of a time bringing some damage in. And then Geb and Xbalanque, the darkest of nights, a huge control to, and obviously Geb, one of the just best supports you can get right now. I'm loving this drag from Dobbos.
Yeah, Dobbos Disciple's doing I mean, you can only do so much if you're on Dobbos Disciple's side, right? I mean, you know what the stakes are, you understand the situation, and you can see what's happening on the other side, and the only thing that you can do is do your job. I mean, you can't control what the other team is doing at all, and so you pick good stuff, you play the game the right way, and you just try and get it over with, basically, I think.
Tyler and blinking in front of Dobson here. He's on the middle lane with Blink Anubis. Blink's all around. Gnome looks like is in the jungle this time instead of solo, so it's jungle Amir with the Assassin's Blessing. Hotaru, who was in the long lane previously, is all the way over to the short lane on the King Arthur, and Genesis has Ullr ADC. Miku playing the Naja support, which is fairly standard.
Yeah, the big role swap to see if this is going to go any better, I suppose, is Genesis attempts to proxy and can't do that on this character. Yeah, I mean, Dobson, I mean, if Tyler's going to blink in and dance at level 1, I think you try and kill him for sure. You know, this is not your casual assault game. This is your job in a lot of ways. So, I don't know. If I'm in Dobson's shoes, I'm definitely telling Switch to come in and kill this guy.
They should be able to fairly easily at this point without any relics there available to Tyler in that middle position, but perhaps we'll get a chance to see what Anubis can do. He is stacked up on potions, so despite not having the blessing, my man's going to be able to chill in lane for a good bit and hopefully get finished off on some lifesteal. Maybe even an early Typhons, I imagine.
Could be, it's probably going to be an early Pythags because
Sure.
Typhons builds off that the Bancroft's tree. Dobson gets first blooded. This draft does bring a lot of pressure. I mean, Anubis, Naja, Ymir is a really sick 3v3 for fighting early on, and Dobbs on Xbalanque that is not super sick at fighting early on. So this draft certainly has that going for it.
I agree. First blood there for Hyve Central, and not a bad target either to take down Dobson here early on the Xbalanque, who can oftentimes need some time to really get online.
And hey, in 20 minutes in game 1, they only got 1 kill, so now they're off to a much better pace.
They already are. The beads used to avoid the route from Vaporish Coast, but Coast able to make it back under the tower, and now at this range, able to get some hieroglyphic assaults, but not quite able to hit every last one of them. So Genesis still okay for now in this 1-for-1 trade.
Coast doesn't have a whole lot of power here. He starts with the boots 1, trying to rush those boots as fast as possible. That is very much meta to try and get your boots on as early as you can, but oftentimes you want to start with at least a little bit of power so that you can trade more favorably. Right now, Genesis is playing a god that just does better in the early game and has a better start for power.
Colossal rotates over to solo lane early. Sometimes I'll be able to speak. And finds a nice kill, but Tyler with the blink into the Mummify, and that sets up a nice kill into Dobson, who didn't have beads. A good start here for this Anubis in the middle lane.
And not a whole lot Switch can do. Maybe, I don't think he's got the silence. He's got the aura, and then probably has the mirror at level 2. So once that silence is up, which is now that he's at level 3, he'll be able to affect that a little bit more next time around.
Ghost takes quite a bit of damage on the left-hand side. Probably will have to back here, as he's now too low to afford to stick around. I love the safety, too. Using the evade and punch to get far enough away that Genesis can't try and all-in or anything like that, or if there was a rotation coming through, which he wouldn't have had the information to know. He'll be able to safely fall back, but look at this wraparound from Gnome and Miku. They want Dobson. They still know he doesn't have beads. He's a sitting duck, even with the Rising Jaguar and the Amir basic attack. Obviously, after using abilities, doing a little bit more, takes down Dobson.
Look, man, I'm obviously not pleased the way Hyve Central is treating this set, but they're executing their draft. I don't think that was the game plan coming in, to be forthright, but certainly have made it work so far, and they're off to a nice lead.
He can use the sash to avoid the spin, but can't stay alive. Got a little bit too aggressive, considering a red buff invading. This from Genesis is ambitious at best. He's fallen now as well. Colossal finds himself a double, and Dobbos defend their jungle.
I think lost in that fiesta of game 1 was how well Colossal played on that Nemesis. Was really consistent with the way that he was playing, picked good fights, didn't have a lot of bad fights to choose from, but picked good ones really overall across the board. And for him to be 3-0 at this point on the Thor, I think is a great sign for Dobbos Disciples.
I wonder if the slow there did make a difference as Gnome couldn't get that freeze. I think that might have been why he was a little bit more out of range than he expected, and Dobson survives. Gnome is the jungler here this time, so a little bit ahead of Dobson. It's not too weird, but now that Tyler N's here, Dobson is done with this engagement and will definitely be falling back.
Has beads back up, so can actually afford to play a little bit more aggressively. As Coast just keeping Genesis by purple buff. He's missing a whole wave over there underneath that tower.
Coast is back it up. He has to. They got a kill on the right-hand side of Hotaru yet again on this King Arthur. Pre-Glad Shield, he can certainly be bullied as hail of arrows into the wall is enough for Coast to be able to make it back out of there A-OK. I don't know if that would have killed from there either way, but doesn't that time.
Taru does boots 1, definitely showing a bit of inexperience over there, I would say. Dobson has beads this time and needs them. Tyler with a good blink mummify has been on point with those so far.
Switch now sticking right to him. But Anubis has good turnaround potential even without the mummify and the ultimate, especially if Miku's there with the sash. Dobson makes it back under the tower just barely. And it does look like Hyve Central just kind of picked these picks so they can play a bit scrappy here if that's what they were going to do in game 1. Then this draft is better for that. A 2-mana wall from Gnome isolates 2 members, but he doesn't have the lockdown.
Switch only level 4, no dash now. Good commit this time, and Gnome gonna secure the 3rd kill for Hyve Central. Definitely too aggressive there by Switch. Normally, you're playing a Guardian that doesn't have that much mobility. Was feeling a bit too much there.
And it looks like Gnome's resolved some of the issues from game 1 as well, as it looks as though he's had, full faculty moving around here on this Amir's
How lucky.
2-0-1. Fortunate, I would say, that he seems to have regained control.
Coast has ultimate, but without landing that evade and punish, not going to be able to find it. Coast does not look particularly comfortable on this pick so far. Thoth is a rhythm character to me. Really need to be kind of in tune with how you want to pace your shots and where you put them and the kind of timings of them. But Coast has not been particularly accurate so far this game.
Agreed.
This is, this is exactly what I think that you use these games for, right? Is understanding your strengths and, is this a pick that I can start working on for next year and all this kind of stuff. Like that, I think that Coast playing a god that he's not as comfortable with and trying to make it work, it makes a whole lot of sense. And I understand that I'll probably get some backlash on the, Coast can play a different character, but I can't. I think there is it's a disingenuous argument, I think. Coast is clearly playing a meta god that is a little bit different.
Yeah, just something that he doesn't normally play. And he certainly is trying to play it as well, which I do think would be a pretty big difference as USB yet again gets the better of Hotaru. But there's been a ton of ganks on this right-hand side. We hadn't talked much about it, but this is that solo Geb. And if you can make it past, a few more minutes with this solo Geb, especially ahead, that feels really good, man, having a Geb rotate over with a nice lead.
I mean, Geb Solo changed the entire World Championships last year for Splice. Divios' Geb Solo was a massive part of their win.
Dobson barely makes out of that one with low HP, and Miku could actually end up falling for it. Switch cleans that one up with the Amaterasu support. A much-needed return kill there to give Dobson some room to breathe here in middle, because he has been under pressure.
It's kind of what you expect with the Xbalanque, especially against Anubis, Ymir, Naja as the 3v3 that you're going up against. But Switch playing a god that can really scrap in the early game quite effectively certainly doesn't hurt in that spot.
Colossal catching the hands there from Otaru. He might have been getting bullied, but King Arthur still does King Arthur things, especially to a Thor with no defense at this point, so sends Colossal on his way a little bit there on that right-hand side as USB comes over to try and defend what's his.
And as soon as Hotaru gets that Glad Shield, he can be much more aggressive in that lane. And overpowered USB will do damage at this point, though.
Tyler N is inside the Death Gaze and doesn't get as much damage as you might hope. Dobson now out, so it's between Coast and Switch if they can find any return kills. And Switch with the final judgment, or rather Coast able to take it down on Tyler N. Here's that rotation you were looking for and the accuracy.
That's it for Coast. Like I said, Thoth, a character that takes a little bit of time feel like the early game, a lot of Dobbs players are a little bit more weary on those skill shots. Great wall from Gnome, sets up Genesis. Hyve Central's draft certainly not lacking for CC. They've got stuns on stuns. They've got them all over the place.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about having Zeros in the studio here with us more often now is that we just get to hear from him, even not on broadcast, just get to hear his thoughts on stuff. And one of the things he was telling me is that he thinks Amir does have some places in drafts nowadays if you're up against teams that don't have leaps to get up over those walls, especially someone like Ama that's still relying on her dash. I don't think he said that matchup in particular, but that it does seem like one that can work there too. I think Amir has some spots where you can pick him and he makes some sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a character that is polarizing in the sense that whenever you see Amir at a competitive level, it's going to be over quickly one way or the other. I mean, I bring it up literally every time we talk about Ymir, but it's because I haven't been proven wrong yet. This character either crushes or gets crushed, and it feels like there's very little in between.
Colossal takes to the sky. Tyler N, a sitting duck in the middle lane, does not have beads and ends up falling quite easily there. Colossal 3-0-3 with a brawler speed stick to shut down on some of that sustain.
Dobson at some point was probably like, hey guys, there's an Anubis mid that doesn't have beads in my lane, and we have Ama Thor. How does he have so few deaths?
Charge of Ice wasn't there in time, and that might be enough for Dobson. He can't get away from the Glacial Strike, though. Gnome accurate that time, seeming to have no issues, at least here in this game, as he shuts down Dobson.
That was a nice 2 there for sure. 3-0-2, keeping pace with Colossal on this Thor. The roll swap working out okay for Hyve Central, I'd say.
The Relic Dagger there as well, so there's going to be a lot more blinks coming in near future. Amir also does well, I think, with some movement speed. That's one of those trees that I like on him. This Gnome and the rest of the squad group up here with Genesis, but Switch, sensing danger, dashed on out of there, was not going to get collapsed on.
Might now, though. Gnome playing linebacker on the way in, but decides to let him go.
Tyler N is inside the ultimate, but that was the darkest of nights from Dobson that stripped him of the information. Those auto attacks are still getting in, so Tyler N was in a weird spot there related to that wall, but Switch takes down Gnome, makes it 1-for-1 mid for jungle.
Had an extra little bit of HP for Tyler N. I think actually makes a difference there from the Pythags piece. You're not getting nearly as much lifesteal as you would from the Bancroft's Talon. I feel like Bancroft's usually just what I'd prefer on Anubis. I'm not... Anubis is pretty binary. You're either alive or you're dead, in the sense that if it's so easy to commit to you that it doesn't take a whole lot to get the kill, but you want to make it hard by just outright damage.
Colossal dunks in the middle lane, and immediately responding is Miku by going up to the sky, and it does not end up saving him in the end. Switch, though, brought down quite low, so Miku played to his outs. It just wasn't there for him.
Dobson struggled so far, 0-5
yeah.
for him. I mean, it's almost 12 minutes in. He still doesn't have.
Well, he's right in the center of the jank hurricane, right? So
true.
I mean, I don't know. Well, not the eye.
Well, yeah, because that's the best part.
Right, but he's right next to that. He's in some trouble.
Nice wall.
It is a nice wall.
That'll get the kill.
You know what I watched over the weekend? I watched Crawl. It's a movie where there's a hurricane in Florida and there's gators in the house with them, and it's horrifying. And they were in the eye of the hurricane at one point, and they still weren't very safe. So I'm gonna say it's like that.
Finch, earlier today, you told me you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse because, and I quote, I don't really like movies that much.
That's big true. I hate them.
And then you're going to come to me and say you watched Crawl?
It's not a good movie. I can't defend that movie. I didn't watch it. I was made to watch. I was forced to.
All right, I'm going to force you to watch Into the Spider-Verse.
I bet I'll love it. I love Spider-Man and good movies.
It's both of those things.
Yeah, I bet I'll like it.
How have you gotten to this point and not watched it? I'm so confused.
I haven't chosen to watch a movie of my own volition in a long time. Maybe Endgame is the most recent one.
Okay. Choose to watch this one. What?
Gnome blink freeze on the Dobson, and great CC chain there from Miku pulls him up to the sky and brings Dobson back to his certain doom. This Shibalanke has not worked so far, man, and it's just too much CC. It is too much aggression. I don't think it's gonna work.
No, and you really just need to do a better job of your Dobbos disciples on killing Tyler in the mid lane for having no beads. To only have 2 deaths. I understand Dobson's under constant pressure, but Tyler's constantly on his tower line.
Yeah, I'm surprised Colossal has spent so much time in right on Hotaru and not more time on Tyler. And maybe Anubis' best chance is turnaround. You don't want to fight into that?
I don't know, man. I mean, Switch by himself can get the job done. I mean, he does enough damage to take half HP off from this Anubis by himself. Dobson only needs to contribute a little bit. Colossal is potentially even overkill, I think,
Sure.
on a gank there.
As long as Switch is doing enough work for him. Tyler in lurking, as now he has the Bancrofts along with that Pythax piece. This item's so key. Oh, he's going to get collapsed on. Gonna have to fight his way
There
out
we
of this
go.
one.
Look at
As
this.
Switch drops a dazzling offensive. There's the Death Gaze for the CC immunity more than anything. Is going to drop some more damage right at his feet. That's the grasping hands, but won't be enough to keep him out as Colossal finds the kill. But Hyve Central don't appear to be done with this fight yet.
Miku, no ultimate for him, but Colossal certainly has his. Anvil of Dawn just a bit outside, but Miku's still in trouble.
My man lands in Nebraska, but doesn't matter. He still gets there in time to close things out. The shard device here, and Dobson gets chunked. That's 502 saying hello, but Dobbos got 2 kills and they're on their way out.
Oracles for the trouble, but Dobson gets double blinked on, and maybe we shouldn't go through that trouble. You definitely, look, you can die a lot as a backliner, sure. Especially if the enemy team is determined to kill you a whole lot. You don't go 1-7 in 14 minutes without considerable misplays. And I think that was just the latest for Dobson.
This has not been Dobson's, best game. And remember, I think Dobson should play with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, there was a while there where he was with the rival, but then they went back towards Fly. Obviously, they thought that they were better off in that spot with Fly. I'd be wanting to try and show as much as possible, that I can clean things up. And I'm sure Dobson's given us what he's got, but it has not worked here this game. He might just have to start playing safer.
I think a role swap between he and Coast would go a long way, but
Agreed.
Genesis is playing a character that also plays very aggressively. So Tyler N uses his ultimate for CC immunity, and that's a fine trade because it's a longer cooldown than that of Switch's ultimate. So this is what should have been happening from literally minute 4.5 or whenever Switch hit level 5.
Which will now consider the back as Hotaru. Proxying and Colossal there to try and stop it. One thing about the Geb is that he's probably not the best at punishing this, but there's a lot of members of Dobbos on the way. Blink Cataclysm into the Anvil of Dawn, and Hotaru shrugs it off for the most part. He's looking for Dobson, who's had a rough game so far. Good wall buys him a moment, but Hotaru will put him into the casket.
Now overpowered USB might join him,
solo.
surrounded. Good Geb shield for himself, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He's got to find a great angle out, but the wall stops him. Look, man, Gnome's performance in Game 1 was an embarrassment. It shouldn't happen in this league. He's played really well here in Game 2.
I think so, man. This Amir pick was a strong pick, especially into the dash from the Shibalanke, the dash from this Amaterasu, the dash from this Thoth. I mean, this is a team that is reliant on being able to dash out of trouble, and Amir oftentimes says, no, you cannot. So I think he also has a pretty good matchup that's helping him out considerably here. 4-1-7, but still a bit behind Colossal in terms of farm.
That was nice of Switch. Pull and get the back camps low for Tyler to come in and steal them away. How kind.
So you don't get to, in Game 1, make a big deal about calling him Tyler in and then stop doing it. You haven't done it since then.
So
You've just been saying Tyler.
So I've successfully Hindu manned you?
Yeah, I don't know why you want to. There's no joy for either of us in it, right?
That's
I
right.
assume Hinduman does it because he's a
Zero-sum
joyless,
game,
hollow
by
shell.
the way. Here we go.
I don't-
Yep. Just bring a little bit of edge to it,
I appreciate that, man. Thanks
I was
for
just
the
feeling,
fans.
I was feeling like Baker Mayfield wakes up feeling dangerous. I woke up feeling a little savage today. Go ahead.
I hope he does. I have Jarvis Landry. Get him some points here from him. I hope he woke up feeling dangerous today. They play later on tonight. As Golfear being looked at by
On
Dobbos.
God, if Nick Chubb doesn't get 0.8 points so I can get my wins down 0.7, we're gonna have a problem.
If he fumbles and that's all he does, then you lose that game, actually, as Colossal finds Genesis. But Hyve make it there in time to steal the Gold Fury. Gnome is the one that does, and he wants to make out like a bandit, but I don't see a way he's able to make out of this one. Blink does cover some ground, but Colossal still here with the hammer. Into the spin, 7 in a row for the Thor, but Tyler N does respond there with Dobson.
9 deaths for Dobson now, real close to that double-digit mark. Is Colossal. I mean, this is, I've been in this game as a jungler in ranked before, where I feel like I'm popping off, carrying the game, 7-0-4, really doing a lot, and my mid laner, 1-9, 5 levels below me.
That sounds more like you.
What's up?
That you'd be the mid laner, 1-9-6.
You think so?
I do, that's why I said it.
Okay. Agree to disagree, I guess.
Okay, sure.
What, a handyman you once, and that's the treatment I get?
Yeah. Now I'm Hindu Manning.
Boy.
We're really being mean to Hindu here today. We kind of been mean to Hindu a lot lately, if I'm being honest.
What do you mean me? It's really you.
What are you saying?
You've been coming at Hindu Man's throat for a couple weeks now, and you're gonna get smacked down.
I think so.
At some point, and you're gonna have to sit at home afterwards and think, I kind of asked for this.
Well, normally when Hindu Man comes at you, you can at least say, I'm innocent, I'm but a young babe, I've done nothing to anyone to have earned this. Now, I'll have earned it.
Yeah, I think that something I learned very early on after I got hired was that taking little pokes at Hindu Man does nothing but make him angry,
right?
And just doesn't get you anywhere. You really have to save up for one big haymaker to take him out and really like just knock him out and make it so he can't respond to you. And I think all you've been doing is poking.
Right. Yeah, no future focus here from Finch. Very rarely has that been my thought process. Final Judgment nearly takes down Gnome. Hammer off the mark, and a nice stun there from Genesis actually gets Gnome out. And then Miku with the turnaround Windfire Wheels. They might be able to find a punish here out of all this on the side of Hyve Central. But Vaporish Coast, as he often does, shows up to change things.
Makes a play in the mid lane, gets stunned. Genesis still getting some work done in the mid lane, is overpowered, and Switch finally combine to bring down Tyler N. Now I don't know which one I wanted to say, by the way. I've lost it.
Vaporish Coast gets another kill. I pay Ryan no mind as Dobbos 4-0 in their favor. And that really was a fight that started in Dobbos' favor heavily and then turned around suddenly, and it was Hyve Central that should have been able to find a nice punish, and they get nothing, and then Dobbos take the fight right back. A huge fight for them, but they're not able to do much on the back end, it seems.
Gnome has to use a purification bead. Still, with that much movement speed, is able to get away. But Colossal's been shown a bunch of good walls from Gnome. Shows him he can do it too.
8-0-6 for the Thor, and they're going to head right over to the Fire Giant. Hotaru is here on this King Arthur, and he certainly has disrupt potential, but he's about the only one that's going to be able to get this done. He has no relics available to him, but into the actual pit he goes, but he just gets stunned immediately. I don't know if that's the way you do it. Switch to the rest of the squad, blow Hotaru up. Fire Giant still low. It's Miku, the only one coming in, but Dobbos secure, and they should be able to lock down this Nasha.
Yeah, Switch's Final Judgment, or Vaporish's rather, not exactly on point for the secure, but merely there is celebration as Tyler blinks in, tries to trade himself out for something, and will trade himself out for damage from overpowered USB.
That's really just not going to be enough. Yet again, another 4 kills in favor of Dobbos on top of the Fire Giant, this time 9-0-9 from Colossal, 5-0-6 from Coast. Really just a beast performance here from the squad as they continue to take control here of this set. 8K up, they're going to threaten the tier 1 in right, and they'll have Switch threatening the tier 2 in mid.
We had a little bit of a break in your scheduled programming, I think, in the early game, as this composition certainly caught Dobson in particular off guard, but the rest of the team has been fairly unfazed and are now picking him up by his bootstraps and dragging him to the victory.
It's almost like dairy, something smelling in here. Maybe a little bit of cheese as it catches Dobson off guard here, and that didn't work. Okay, you weren't there.
I was just concerned.
That's fine.
Did something happen?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Just worried about Hindu Man later. He's going to really get me.
Yeah, you should be scared.
The thing is, though, I have no faults. You know what I mean? So what's he going to get me on? Right?
Maybe double down on this, Finch. What do you think are your extra points that other people might perceive as faults but are truly strengths?
Some things about me that other people might think are faults, but I really think are strengths. Maybe I can do that after this fight here as Gnome is in some trouble. Dazzling Offensive ends up landing, but Gnome survives it and actually gets them to give up on the chase. But Tyler N, on the other hand, I don't know, man. If this is a choose-your-own-adventure book, I don't think he makes it out. I don't see a world where he escapes.
Yep, that is exactly what trying our best looks like right there, Finch. That is how you define that, for sure.
They lose 3 people in that one. So it's a strength that I have that other people might consider failures.
Wow, that's stronger than what I was saying. That says a lot. Go ahead.
I tell a lot of jokes here in the office, and very few of them land. But it has not stopped me from telling the jokes yet.
That is true.
Oh, whoa! All right, the surrender vote went through. Okay.
Nice.
Well, Hyve Central have recognized that this game is out of reach, and I think that they're correct. This set really was out of reach entirely, and they wanted to put an end. They knew that I had no more faults to think of, So they end the game right there. That's perfect.
Or they
Perfect.
could not bear to possibly hear you talk any longer
Nah.
and decided to just
Couldn't be that.
spare us. And for that, I thank you.
You find yourselves coming up with some ways to thank Hyve Central. I do want to say, though, that I think that this draft found some things that worked well. I think Gnome played this Amir well here in game number 2.
He did.
And Miku showed us that he's got some talent here on this Naja. But for the most part, man, I don't think that this one was going to work for them from minute 1. Dobbos Disciples really cleaned up.
Yeah, I think it wasn't going to work because Hyve Central are undisciplined as individuals and
Yes,
did
it
not
seems.
hold a lot of respect for their opponents or the league. And so it's tough to win.
Not so sure about themselves either,
when you
really.
do that. Yeah, that too.
In that game. Not a strong performance there from Hyve. Definitely not been their best day. But Dobbos, I think, even in an effort that's not going to improve their standings, obviously, here at this point, show us that they are still a strong team. We've had a lot of EU here today as a result of what happened to some of our other leagues. But that was the last one. It'll be North America on the other side of this break.
The SMITE Console League is brought to you by Titan Forge Games, the developers of SMITE.